Okay.
Hey, Mike Neubauer.
How the hell are you?
Hey, it's you. It's your same
Hello?
voice. I'm doing good, Mike. How you doing?
I'm doing all right, buddy. Are you still in D.C.?
Yeah. I
Okay.
am. Yeah. Where are you at?
I'm in Belgrade, just 9 miles out of Bozeman.
Oh yeah. I know it. Yeah, that's cool. That's
Yeah.
that's a nice place to live.
Well, it's gone kind of crazy. I mean, people are moving here left and right, man.
Oh, that. Yeah, I know. I mean, I guess it is a nice place. I know there's so many people living there. It kind of makes me sad
Yeah,
to think about it.
it is kind of sad, but I'm out in the country. I bought a place in '91, and so I enjoy my peace and quiet out here. So it's pretty good when you're out in the country.
Oh yeah, that's wow. That's nice. 1991. Yeah. So when you
Yeah.
could still afford to live there, huh? That's cool. Good job doing that.
Yeah, I got lucky there. My mother pushed me into that, so
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
Yeah. Well, cool. God,
How
it's
about
great to.
yourself? You work for the Pentagon, did I hear? Is that what
Yeah,
you do?
yeah. I was working there, and then I retired from federal service a little over a year ago, and I'm working still working in the defense sector, but for a contractor now, and work a
Okay.
lot with the Pentagon, but not in the Pentagon now. Yeah. But yeah, but you know, just a few more years to go. I got a daughter in college, and once I get her through, I'll be
Yeah.
able to do this baseball stuff full time.
I tell you what, buddy, I commend you for it. It's been fun just keeping up on it. Oh my God.
Yeah,
Yeah,
thanks,
you're doing
and
the whole Eastern Montana service, if you ask me. So,
thanks, Mike. It's fun. I mean,
yeah.
because we were all such part of it, and it's kind of, and the baseball's not what it used to be up there, and just trying to keep the memory alive. Kind of what I wrote
Yeah.
originally, and it's just,
Yeah.
yeah.
I have a daughter in Opine now, and so I decided to go through Scobie to go up there one time. And I went over to the baseball field and I took pictures. I walked around a bit. It was just sad. Just sad.
Yeah, I know.
You know?
In Scobie there.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I know it's tough to see that. I know. Our high school in Peerless closed. In
Right.
2009, and it's just really sad. All the memories that you have of that place, and um, yeah. But I mean, and again, that's part of the reason. I get probably a big part of the reason why I'm doing this too is just because
Yeah.
keep the memory alive and
Keep it
talk about
alive.
it.
You
Yeah.
bet.
And then, but the coolest part about it has been reconnecting with everyone, and connecting with people that I hadn't even talked to before a lot. That I
Right.
knew, but never had really talked to them, and everyone has a baseball story to share. And so tonight, we're going to hear your baseball story, Mike. So I'm really excited. I mean, I know a lot of it because I played against you from, when I was 9 years
I
old
think,
in Wolf
yeah,
Point.
I think it was in 1970.
Yeah, it
Your
was
first debut.
1970. Yeah. So let's start then, Mike. Go back to, well, I'm sure you started playing before 1970, but can you remember who your first coach was in Peewee or Little League? And then
Well,
yeah, go ahead.
yeah. Yeah. We lived on the farm, right? We were 25 miles out of town. So, when I was 4 and 5 years old, they had a prairie out blue pony team. We played out in the pasture. I don't remember much about it, but I got to play a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what the ages were. It went all the way up. We played like Vida and Sunnyside, and that was probably about it. But when I was 4 and 5 years old, that's when I played, and my uncle Cal Neubauer was the coach.
Oh, uh-huh.
Yeah. And that just went on for a couple of years, and then I didn't get to play until I was 9. And my mom finally put her foot down and said, "These boys are playing baseball." So
Mm-hmm.
my older brother never got to play, but Jeff and I did, and so I had to play with. I was 9, and I had to play with Jeff's league. I had to play with 11 and 12-year-olds that first year, and then I believe the next year is when it was, I think, yeah, it was my first year in my own league, kind of, and that's the year that Peerless came to town.
1970, yeah.
Was it 70? Yeah.
Yeah, I was 9 years old. I was 9.
Yeah, and I was 10.
Yeah.
So, and I was thinking about that today. I would imagine it was your dad. I imagine Tiny called up
Ron Harshaw. Yep.
Probably said, "Hey, I want to play your 2 best teams."
Yeah, that's exactly what happened.
That's what I'm guessing happened.
Yep.
And yeah, because you guys played a doubleheader. You got to play us, and then Ryan's.
Yeah. I remember. Yeah. And I remember the games. We were so excited in Peerless to come play because, I mean, we'd been playing when I was 7. We started playing little, Peewee, and then 7, 8, and then 9, but we'd played Flaxville, Opime, Scobie, and went to Canada a couple times.
Oh, wow.
But we'd never gone. We never played Wolf Point, and it was a big deal for us because we just were kind of. Dad was always, well, there's going to be tough competition, boys. You guys, this, right? It's like we're 9 years old, and we were just excited to come down there. And I just remember him talking on the phone to Ron Harshaw. Yep, we got a doubleheader. We're playing Food Town, and I'm like, who's Food Town? What's that? that's a Wolf Point team, right? Brian's. Yeah, and you pitched. And it was such a good game. I know you got ahead 3-0, and then we came back and went ahead 5-4. And I was pitching in the last inning, and Kip Harshark and somebody else got on base, and you were batting. And you'd be damned if you didn't hit a single to drive in those 2 runs. And I remember Kip scored the winning run. And he was just flying around third base. I'd never seen a kid run that fast before. And Ron was waving him home, and there was a play at the plate, and he slid. And I remember he was running over to his dad. He's like, I didn't even know I was the winning run.
Well, I think his dad was umpire.
Ah, that's what it was. Okay, yeah.
Greg Redikoff was our coach.
Ah, okay. He was waving him around. But I remember he was talking to Ron. I remember he was talking to his dad after the game, saying, I didn't even know I was the winning run. Yeah. It's probably a good thing it wasn't a close play at the plate then, because Ron would have probably called him safe. But I remember that we weren't used to losing a lot, and I remember it was hard. I'm like, so what happened? It was a walk-off, right? Because that was the bottom half of the inning, and it was It was the first time I'd ever been in a walk-off. I'm like, why don't I keep pitching? Because it's a winning run, Joey. The game's over. Oh no.
I wouldn't have known that. I wouldn't have known that if you wouldn't have come up with that, because I don't ever remember having any walk-offs. But at least I got one now. Yeah,
you did, and you remember. You have one memory of that game. I think you told me you were throwing a curveball. And I don't. Can you tell that story? One John or I didn't quite handle that very well.
Yeah, well, let me go back a little bit. So it was that same year I didn't have a curveball or nothing like that, and this kid hit 2 home runs off me in one game. Mm-hmm. And when we got out to the farm, Dad said, "Grab your gloves." Mm-hmm. We went down to where we throw, and he showed me how to grip this thing, and he showed me how to throw it, and he said, "Now, whenever that kid gets up," he said, "you just throw him that." And I did. I threw him that. I never threw him anything else. He never hit again. Anyway, so yeah, that's how I got that curveball. And wow. I remember, I don't remember much about that game, but I remember throwing a curveball to you or John, and it was just a big roundhouse, whatever. Yeah. And whoever it was ducked, just head down. Yep. And then Ron called it a strike. And whoever it was come up and looked at the umpire, and then he looked at me, and he's like, Couldn't believe it, How could you call that a strike? But whoever it was didn't see it.
Yeah, I don't remember it. I probably don't want to remember it. Yeah, I mean, we'd never seen a curveball before, that's for sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't start throwing mine till I was 12. 3 years later, Andy Stolen taught me how to throw mine.
Did he?
Yeah, he did when I was 12. But when I was 9 down there, it was like just fastball, just get it, over the plate and strikes and
Right.
get out. So,
Right.
but yeah, I'll never forget that game and the game against Bryant's after that. I remember Terry Baldry, and we won that game. Just want to
Yeah.
make sure everyone know that we got a split in Wolf Point. But yeah, that was fun.
Yeah.
And then
Those are the
yeah, oh my God. And then in Babe Ruth, then you kept playing into Babe Ruth until we'll get into your Legion career. But can you remember your Babe Ruth years?
I do. I do for sure. I think Pat Bushman coached 13, 14, and Felix Jensen when I was 15. But I actually made the Highline All-Stars. I was the only 13-year-old on the team, and we ended up winning the state title that year in 1973.
Wow.
And that was kind of basically the same team as 76 when Spobey beat us in the...
Oh, that team, yeah.
And then I think in 74, we played the state tournament. It was in Bozeman, and we took second. It was rough. We ended up getting beat twice in the championship by Libby or something. Yeah, it was rough. And then I think the state tournament was in Butte when I was 15, and Felix Jensen was coaching that year, and I think we took fourth or something like that.
Wow,
yeah,
so you were
those were good old days.
Yeah, so you were on a state championship Highline Babe Ruth team. Wow, and then played for the state championship again the next year. Yeah, I remember Highline always had a really good Babe Ruth team. I remember when I played, and when I was 13. You might have been on that team then. We played on that Babe Ruth field in Glendive.
Yeah, the Whipkey Field.
That wasn't, yeah, absolutely. That was in 74. And I remember Highline had a really good team.
I played short that year. I played short most of the years, but there was always some. Poplar had a program, kind of, and it was always pretty good. We got to combine with Fraser, Poplar, Wolf Point in those days, and we always got a decent 1 or 2 out of Fraser and 3 or 4 at least out of Poplar.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I remember playing Poplar and Fraser, when I was 13, and now that was that team. So we actually, now that I'm talking about this, we played you in that tournament.
Did we?
Yeah, because I remember, Dad, do you remember Rick Hansen from Bainville? Big right-handed pitcher. He played for Freud. He pitched for Freud. They called him Fireball Hansen. But he was 15 years old and probably about 6'3" and 180, 190 pounds, rock solid. Yeah, and he pitched against you in the second game. You must have lost your first game because we did too. And Rick was talking. Who was coaching Wolf Point at that time?
The Highline All-Stars was Rich Dean out of Poplar that year.
Okay. Well, somehow before the game, Rick was talking to him, and your coach thought he was one of our coaches because he was so big.
I think I remember something about that.
Yeah. And Rick was talking to him. Said, "No, I'm the starting pitcher today." Yeah.
I remember that tournament. It was 14, and I was playing right field. Malum was our shortstop. And somebody gave Malum a chew, and he got sick, and they needed a shortstop, so he put me in his short, and then I played there the rest of the year.
Yeah. Yeah, I was 13 that year, 74. Yeah. And then moving on into Legion, so you had a successful Babe Ruth. Then in 75, you would have been playing Legion then. And do you remember? So, who was coaching you in '75? I know Don Leckfald was there, but I think he wasn't the head coach that
No,
year.
no, he was coaching. He
He
was
was
coach.
in '75.
Yeah.
Okay, okay. I know he was in '76. I wasn't sure about '75. Yeah.
So I played both Babe Ruth and Legion that year because it was 1 year I got to play with my brother. And
Right.
I come home from the state tournament in Butte, the Babe Ruth tournament. I was at the game. Donnie says, "Bring your uniform tomorrow."
Mm-hmm.
And I think that was the game. That was a big game, right?
Mm-hmm.
I ended up throwing a bunch in that slugfest.
Oh, the slug. Yeah, I saw the box. Yeah, you were throwing. Yeah, you pitched, right? And was that on the second day? So we got to tell. Not everyone might know about this slugfest, but it was epic. Because I remember listening to it on the radio in Peerless with Dad and John, and it was late. I think Saturday night, and I think it was 20-20 or something.
Yeah.
And it got too dark, and they had to postpone the game till the next day. So the game spanned into the next day,
Yeah.
and it ended up being 24-23 in 12 innings. And you ended up pitching.
Yeah, I threw. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know how many innings, but I threw quite a bit in that slugfest.
Yeah, and that was for the Eastern Division Championship. That game was, and then the state tournament was in Scobie. I think the following, like in 4 days, I think pitching was just everyone was trashed. But then you went ahead, you won, and I think took third place at state. Do you remember state tournament in Scobie that year?
Yeah, I do a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
We were always doing stupid stuff. I mean, we were beating Plentywood kind of bad, I think. And Jeff goes to Donnie. He says, "Hey, Donnie," he says, "let me pitch." And Mike can catch. I was pitching, he was catching.
Mm-hmm.
We just didn't think much back then, and he let us do it. And the next day, right, I think we had to play half. Our catcher, he couldn't freaking throw. My brother was back catching, but he pitched the day before. He hadn't pitched since he was like 12 years old.
No.
But, I don't remember a whole lot about that.
Mm-hmm.
I remember Kenny Lee. Kenny Lee was a pretty good player for us, a good hitter back in '75. And him and Jeff kind of led us.
Yeah. I mean, now it's just such a good hitting team. I mean, all those teams at Wolf Point just seemed to could hit. I mean, scoring 24 runs. I mean, that's crazy. Yeah.
I think Dan might have threw some in that game too. He was 14.
Yeah, he was playing. Yeah, I'll have to check the box. I think I think I have the box score on that.
I remember the night before, right? The first part of that game, I was on third. Somebody hit a line drive to Craig Miller and right.
Mm-hmm.
And coach goes, "Go, go, go." I took off. No, tag. I come back, I tag, and I got thrown out by about 10, 15 feet. That would have won the game. We would not have played the next day.
Yeah. Now, was that in Wolf Point? Because it got called because of darkness. There was no lights. That's why it had to go into the net. Yeah. Right. Okay, that's why. Yeah. I remember Dad.
That's the most people I think I ever seen at a game there.
Yeah. That was just Cliff Hagfeld was calling it, and we were like, one team would get down by 7 runs, and then the other team would hang 7 runs in an inning and tie it. And I remember Dad joking around like, "Yeah, Scobie would have won it, but they missed an extra point." Yeah, but that was epic. But then, so 76, so okay, that's the year. That was the team, Wolf Point. And, I mean, we played again for the Eastern Division Championship. And it was another slugfest, not like it was the year before, but it ended up 16-14. And
was it really?
Yeah.
Now, tell me this, though, in the game previous to that, because I was talking to Jerry Moran here a while back.
Yeah.
And he said he beat you guys in divisional, and he said he had 16 strikeouts.
That would have been the game before that. Yeah, that was 16-4. where Wolf Point, because remember we played double elimination.
Right.
So
right.
and that would have been in the undefeated semifinal then.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Probably.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But then he threw again some in the championship game, I think. Jerry did. Yeah. Yeah. I know. And I started, and we were out of pitching. It was John pitched, I pitched, Kirby Halverson. And I remember Kirby and I were talking, and he remembers it was in Glendive, and they had that fence. Was I don't know, was it aluminum or metal or something? But when a ball banged off of that, you could just hear it for miles. And we were just getting shelled. I didn't make it 3 innings, I don't think. And I remember Doc pulled me out when I think Bill Newmiller hit a home run about 1 foot foul. And there'd been about a couple doubles and triples before that, and I was just done. I had pitched the first game. It was hot. I was 15 years old.
Right.
And Doc took me out in the middle of a count. I remember Bill Bartels saying before that, "Come on, Doc, give the kid a break. Take him out." Yeah. But it was just that lineup you had was just, there was power all the way up and down it. And I mean, Kip Harshark was playing then, and he was always a tough out. He was 15 years old too at that time, but could still hit. It was just an unbelievable lineup. And then, of course, the two teams we headed to state in Cutbank, and you played Browning your first game. We won ours against Sparkies, I think, from Great Falls. And then the second game, you were pitted against Glasgow, and you pitched that game. Do you remember that game, Mike, in Cutbank?
I do.
Yeah.
I do remember some of it a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we talked about this before in a text, because you said I threw a good game or whatever, but Glasgow was pretty tough.
Yeah, they were.
But the deal is Hopstead and Erickson. Mm-hmm. Erickson was probably one of their best hitters. Mm-hmm. They broke curfew, and Yoakum benched them that game.
Yep.
We only beat them like 3-1 or something. So
and it was in the 9th inning.
Grant Boyson hit a
two-run home run.
I think.
Yeah, to win it. It was 1-1 in the 9th. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So in Glasgow, they were a pretty good team that year too.
Yeah. Yes, they were. They were a good team that year. Yeah. Absolutely, yeah. And those two players they're two of their best players. So
they were.
Yeah.
They were.
Yeah.
I know. I threw all 9 that game, and then a few days later, whenever the championship was, I had somebody kind of blew up, and I had to come in and throw.
Mm-hmm.
In that game, we ended up with, I don't know. That's a nightmare. Mm-hmm. It was pretty fun a couple months ago or whatever that was. We all got into that.
Mm-hmm.
And we were talking about it. It was fun to hear some other people's stories,
Yeah. And then, so then in the undefeated set, so Mike Hagfeld, I think he pitched a 2-hitter against Sydney. We won 5-0. And then, as had happened, in the Eastern Divisional the last couple of years, we met again at state in the undefeated semifinal in 76, and Dennis Lindorf just he pitched a shutout and struck out 17 of us. Do you remember that game, Mike? 17 Blues.
Wow.
Yeah, I think it was it may have been a 2. I mean, silenced our bats like no one ever had, because the Scobie. We talk about the Wolf Point team in 76 could hit, so could Scobie.
Yeah. No doubt.
Yeah, that was our strength for sure.
Denny was our stud, but he had a bad back that year, and so then he coming through in the other game. But he was throwing in a lot of pain. And Jerry Moran ended up being one of our better pitchers by the end of the year, just because Denny was kind of hurt. Jerry beat the Scarlets that year. I remember 3-2.
Yeah,
Right.
you did. Yeah,
And then you're
absolutely.
talking about hitters, Jerry Moran. He hit 476 that year, if I my memory.
Wow. Yeah, he
Right.
was a tough out. I mean, of course, a left-handed hitter. I mean,
Yeah.
I'd never wanted to pitch against him and Bill Newmiller because I could only, at 15, my curveball was I couldn't get my fastball by him at that age, and so it was always my curveball, and I could get right-handed hitters out with that, but it broke into those two,
Right.
and I
Yeah.
couldn't. I don't know if I ever got him out. And and you say about Jerry Moran pitching, Mike Egfeldt was one of our better hitters, right? Especially power, and he had troubles hitting Jerry Moran because it was left on left.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
Al Hobstead too was a left-handed pitcher. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And then we came back then through the back door, beat Cutbank. Do you want to talk about what happened on that Saturday night, or do you want to just move on?
You know, well, I suppose I could a little bit. I don't want to keep you all night, but yeah, it's quite a story. Well, we were res, we were out partying all the time. We were in the A&A saloon. Bill Zimmer and I, we were back at the back bar and whatever. We were there, and all of a sudden Fred Rhodes comes up and says, "Hey, you guys, we got to go." And we were getting served, and we didn't want to go anywhere. We said, "No." He said, "No, come on, we got to go right now." So I didn't know what was going on.
Mm-hmm.
So I missed the first part of it. And we get out on the street, on the sidewalk. I don't know if these guys drove by or whatever, and they said, "We'll take you 2 to 5. And McGeeshy goes, "F you, get out, I'll take you 1 to 10, get out of the effing car."
Mm-hmm.
What the hell's going on here, And these two guys get out, they come walking at Jerry, and this guy wants to fight Jerry, and Jerry's backing up. He says, "No," he says, I don't want to fight you, I don't want to fight you. And then the guy took a couple swings at Jerry, and Jerry brought his left up from his ankle, dude, and hit that guy. And boom. First thing to hit was his head on the concrete.
Mm-hmm.
He was out cold. And everybody was saying, "There's a bunch of Scooby guys there, too. Beat that nigga, Jerry, beat him," whatever. So Jerry was pounding on him with his right hand. As soon as he hit him, he says, "I broke my fucking hand. I broke my hand." And I hit him with it, so he starts beating on him. And then pretty soon, people start filing out of the bar. And he said, "We got to go." So we jumped in the car and we stayed in homes, right? So we got out of it. Well, we were leaving. Sirens were coming, and there was beer bottles and cans coming off our car. I mean, they were filing out of that bar big time.
Mm-hmm.
And then we got back. I remember I was counting heads, and shit. We were missing the guy, Bill Zimmer.
Mm-hmm.
And we fought Bill, about 15 minutes later, he comes running in the door just puffing. "Fuck you guys, left me." And anyway, so, we're not all going here, right? Jerry's hurt.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like 16 years old, and I'm like, "Come on, Jerry, we'll go find Doc." So I go to your motel at like 2:33 in the morning.
Yeah.
And I wake up Doc. I mean, how stupid is this? I wake up Doc. I says, he opens the door. "What's up, Mike?" I says, Jerry thinks he broke his hand." He says, "Well, Mike," he says, "take him to the ER at the hospital." I'm like, "Oh, okay." What's Doc going to do, right?
Right.
But I had some faith in Doc. I mean, I love that man. But anyway, So we took him to the hospital, and he got casted up. And he had all his innings left, too, and he was our leading hitter, too. Right? So
I know. Yeah.
And then
go ahead, Mike.
And then we ended up getting that police escort out of town after you guys beat us twice.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah.
I remember that too. I mean, because there was traffic on the way to the ballpark. I think on Sunday was being monitored on that game at Sunday as well. Because I know.
Yeah, because a bunch of those guys from that bar were at our games after that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yes, they were. Yeah.
Yeah, in the outfield. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
We got word that if our chaperone said we were threatened, if we find a Wolf Point kid on the street, you'll never see him again. So.
Yeah.
So we got out of town right after that with our tail between our legs. But.
Yeah, that was quite the tournament. Yeah, I mean, Doc Doc pulled up to the bar, and 5 Scobie guys got in his car in the getaway car while all that was going on.
That's what I heard.
Yeah.
When we were talking about that, Doc, they said, I think it was Mike Neubauer that said, Doc rolled up.
Yeah.
Rolled out his window and said, "Get in."
Yeah, get in,
Mike
knuckleheads.
Said, he never said another word about it.
Yeah. Yeah, Doc. That's just how it was. Yeah. And I remember, I mean, I was 15, I wasn't there, and I, was home in my home and had called my girlfriend, went to bed, the state championship was the next day. And I was sitting in the dugout right before the Wolf Point game, and I look across, I see Jerry Moran and Cast. And I'm like, what the hell? And Mike Hakefelt was sitting next to me, and he said, yeah, there was a brawl in the bar last night. And Jerry's not going to be pitching today. And I'm like, I'd hate to say this, Mike, but I'm like, I thought, wow, that's good for us.
Sure.
I mean, it's because,
like I said, he pitched well, and he was early here too, and
Those were 2 really good games. I know from Scobie's perspective, I mean, 6-5 in the first game. Greg Feld hit that walk off in the 9th with a runner on, and that was in the first game. And then in the second game, 11-3, and then we scored 10 runs in the 7th to come back. It was. Those are. I know. It's tough to be on the losing end of those, but those were good games.
But I remember. I think I was playing short when Feld hit that. Didn't he hit it to right field?
Yeah, right down the line. He hit it.
The throw come in, and I think it hit him in like the right butt cheek and went off into like left center, kind of where nobody was around.
Yeah, and Greg was fast, and I saw that happen at second, and he never stopped. Greg never stopped. He never stopped. Cross. He was full speed the whole way, and I'm like, he's gonna score. And Wade Tryon was on base ahead of him, and he could run too. So I mean, and that was a 2-strike, 2-out hit too. That was down to the last.
Really?
Oh yeah.
That just makes it worse.
Yeah, sorry to let you know that. And he fouled a couple pitches off too, with 2 strikes. I'm like, because I remember sitting in the dugout, and I'm like, next pitch, this is it. We're going home, right? If it's a swing and a miss or whatever. Right? And then he got that hit, and then we lived to fight another day, and then.
What a miracle. And then you guys ended up winning 5 in a row.
Yeah, that started it too. Yeah.
I always say we gave them their first one, but they earned the rest.
That's good, Mike. That's good. Yeah, and you lost so many good players in 76, and then 77. Don't think you made it back to state in 77, but then I remember you back there in 78, again back in Cutbank, because we played you again. Yeah, we played you again, I remember, in our second game. Yeah. And I don't know how far you went in that 78 tournament. I know we beat you in the second game. And how did you do after that, Mike? Do you remember?
We ended up 4th. It was Scobie took first, Glendyke took second.
Yeah.
Sydney took 3rd, and we took 4th. So
right.
It was all even.
Yeah. And then go ahead, Mike.
Well, that game too in Cutbank, we were playing Cutbank, and we were up, and we had a pitcher blow up, right? And then next thing I know, it was tied up. Well, no, it was tied, and I come in and I had to throw like 3 or 4 hard innings, and I wasn't supposed to throw at all because I was going to throw against Scobie, right? And then ended up squeezing Malum in for the winning run, and it might have been, I don't know if it was 10 innings or just went 9. But no excuses or anything, but I was a little bit tight. I had to throw against you guys the next day. And I remember one back too, it was a debt, I think. It was Allen.
Yeah.
I didn't know what I was going to throw when I was in my windup, and I didn't know. And I ended up just floating it in there, and he hit that sucker out.
Oh yeah.
Oh jeez.
Yeah, he was a tough hitter though, Alan. He was a power hitter, a
all
tough
you
hitter.
guys were. Jeez,
Yeah.
we were all tough out.
Yeah. Yeah, that was 78. And then after that, then you went on and played junior college with a couple players that I remember very well because I played with one of them. Can you talk about your junior college experience, Mike? What you can tell me?
You know, went down to the Rangeley, Colorado. It was supposed to be some beautiful place, whatever. It was kind of a hole, you know.
Yeah.
But played a decent schedule, and the program wasn't anything special at all. Mm-hmm. But Frenzel was down there from Glendive. And then Randy called me and asked me about it. And anyway, he come down too. He did well. Mm-hmm. And then I ended up going to Black Hills State after that. And I kind of walked into the best team probably one of the best teams I ever played on. Just a bunch of post-22 players from Rapid City. And that's when I hooked up with you, wasn't it?
Yep. That would have been April of 81. I was playing shortstop for Minot State that year. And that was our trip south. I guess we considered South Dakota south. I remember we played you a doubleheader, and it was spitting snow the second game. I was playing short. You were catching. I think I remember you catching, and it was spitting snow, and my hand was so cold. I remember I hit a ground ball. I could hardly get a grip on it to throw it to first base. But we did split. I think we did split that doubleheader. I remember you guys had a really good team. Yeah,
we did. We ended up winning the SDIC, and then and then the playoff with North Dakota, and we went to Emporia, Kansas, and I think we maybe won one and lost two down there or something. I don't remember.
Yeah, but it was funny, back then there wasn't any phones or any way to keep it. I didn't know you were playing there.
Oh, you didn't?
No, at the time.
I'm sure I didn't know you were at Minot.
Yeah, so we just kind of like, I'm warming up, and then, there's Mike catching, and then you saw, there's Joe playing short. Hey! Here we are in South Dakota in April playing baseball after everything from playing in Little League and from when we're 9 and 10 years old and into Babe Ruth and Legion, and then here we were. That was awesome. I mean, we went out and had a beer after that. I remember that was really awesome to see you.
Yeah, we went out on the river right there.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Last time I talked to you, you were telling me about the conversation, and I about lost my marbles. I said, he can remember that.
Yeah, I do. I remember what we were talking about for sure. Yeah. On the river. What river was that? Do you remember what? Out the Black Hills?
I don't know. It was in Spearfish Canyon.
Okay, yeah. But it was really nice. I remember that. A little chilly.
Spearfish is a nice place.
It is, yeah. It was nice. So you had a good college career there then, and then let's move on into your coaching career then. So that would have been, your last year there would have been 82, is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And then, so I know that, so we'll get to your Legion coaching, in the big year 87, want to talk about that. But what happened, after you graduated from Black Hills State? What were you doing between then and when you started coaching Legion in Wolf Point?
Well, I was just on the farm.
Okay.
I wasn't doing much, but I started coaching Babe Ruth in 1983.
Okay.
And I remember just thinking, because, you guys, you were pretty blessed to have Doc Norman.
Yeah, we were.
You really were. And I want to add Marge in there, too, because they're two of my favorite people in the whole world. And I just didn't know much. And I learned quite a bit in college, And anyway, they were going to start 3 Babe Ruth teams in Wolf Point. And I'm like, I said, there's no reason a 13-year-old can't learn what I know right now. I'm going to coach. So I started coaching. And then 84, I coached Babe Ruth 83, 84, 85, but 84 was the nucleus of that 87 team, but they were 14 years old.
Mm-hmm.
I got a few stories about those guys.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, can I roll with this 87 a little bit?
Go, yeah, absolutely, Mike.
Okay. Well, I want to kind of, like I said, started in 83 and then 84 was that nucleus team, and I had them in All-Stars. I coached some of them on my team, and then I coached the Highlight All-Stars that year. And we were going to Sydney. And we were going to take our softball bus. So anyway, before we leave, I have a little lecture about this. No bullshit goes on. This got our team's name on it. Just go through the behavior. There'll be no littering, no bullshit off this bus. So we take off. And Joe, I'm gonna use a few in some of these couple stories. I'm gonna use some nicknames.
Just fine, Mike.
Everybody can catch on, but anyway, so we take off and we go about 30, 40 miles. And I just gave this lecture about behavior, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I passed this old couple on the way to Sydney, elderly couple. And when I pass them, I look at my mirror. And TC's got his pants down and he's got his ass in the back window. He's mooning these people.
No.
So I pull over. I feel sorry for him because Peppy Schaefer and Jeff Jones and I think Pete Diggins was on that team too. I know Peppy and Jeff were on the bus. Anyway, I pull over and we had a pretty serious powwow. Anyway, so there we go. We're starting, right? And we get to Sydney, and I don't think we play that night because must have had it for a meeting or something. Anyway, we play at 9 the next morning, but we're staying in a church. JT Bowling's my assistant coach. We're staying in a church, and those little Res boys just wouldn't go to sleep, screwing around all night long. I had to find my shoes the next day because I was throwing them. I was, all night long. We get up the next morning and we played Forsyth, and I figured they're probably about half as good as we were.
Mm-hmm.
They beat us 6-2.
Oh, no.
I was pissed, Joe. And remember, this was only my second year coaching.
Yeah.
I was pissed. And so we lose that game. We go out to the left field line, and I'm running them sprints, and every 2 sprints I pull them together, and I lost it. I was chewing their ass, and I just kept running them, and chewing their ass, and pretty soon I hear this guy behind me. Hey Mike. I didn't pay no attention. I was so pissed off, and pretty soon I turn around and it's Frank Fonzio, the tournament director. He says, Mike, we'd like to get this next game going if you don't mind. Oh, shit. Sorry, Frank. And anyway, so that night we get to the church, and you could have heard a pin drop that night. Those boys slept all night. Everything was fine. Mm-hmm. And they get up the next day, and we just rolled through that tournament. Right? They were kicking ass left and right, and we ended up getting in that was the first game, so we ended up getting in the championship. Miles City did beat us in the championship. Mm-hmm. So anyway, so that's how that year went. That's the nucleus of that 87 team. And then in 85, coached again Babe Ruth, but I got kind of parented out of coaching the All-Stars, so I didn't coach the All-Stars. And then in the fall of 85, I moved to Florida. Mm-hmm. I was down there for a year and a half. And, I got a few calls in winter of 87, and a couple ball players, a couple parents, and asking me to come back and coach Legion. And one of the players that called was Dirk Goodman, I think the shortstop. Mm-hmm. He called and asked if I'd come back and coach. I said, "So, why?" And he says, "Coach, we want to win a state championship." Mm-hmm. I said, "Do you remember Sydney when you were 14?" He said, "Yeah, I remember it." I said, "Do you remember that left field line? You remember all that?" "Yeah, I remember that." Mm-hmm. I said, "Well, what'd you get out of that?" He said, "Coach," he says, that's the day we realized somebody cared about us." Wow. I'm like, cared about you? I wanted to kill you. Mm-hmm. That was his answer. And I says, well, shoot. I said, if that's the case, you guys know what you're getting. I says, I'll check with my boss and see if we can do her. And anyway, pulled her off. And ended up going up there in the spring '87. And then so we start practice and whatnot. And they're kind of out of positions. They're not sure, My regular second baseman was in center, and my center fielder was at second. And we made the moves and whatever, and got kind of situated. And we were early in the season. We played Glasgow, and all they could talk about was this sting line. Pictures from Glasgow, sting line. That's all I heard about for like a week before we were going to play them, and that's all they could talk about. So we get up there. And Stingline's pitching, and he retires the first 9 hitters. We are going through the motions, right? They were so psyched out on this guy, right? And I had a little meeting in front of the dugout, and I said, I come all the way from Florida for this shit? I said, are you serious? I said, I come here for this shit. I said, and I just kind of reamed him, and I said, Coach, you can be head coach. Coach, you can be assistant. I just went on down. I said, hell with you guys. I quit. You don't want to play. I don't want to coach. I quit on them. Then I walked in the dugout and I sat down. And so we were down 7-0 after 3. That's when we had the little meeting. And then they had a little meeting by themselves. And then I'm just sitting there. And in the top of the 4th, we had 12 hits, scored 15 runs. We're up 15-7.
Wow.
In the top 4. So I called them back together. I said, this is why I'm here. I said, you guys want to play? I want to coach. Is that okay? And he's like, yeah, coach. I said, tell you what, let's go win a state title. And things kind of broke the ice right there, Anyway, we won the game 27-7.
Jeez.
So they just, they were just psyched out over this guy. And they just absolutely rocked him in the 4th. And rid of him. So anyway, then our next episode, and some of the, I could probably, so we go to the Doc Norman. Yeah. And I don't remember a lot of games during the season. I didn't get out any stats or anything, nothing like that, but I'll just bring up some highlights. We go to the Doc Norman, and Glacier was there. We didn't get to play him or anything. Both Glacier, we wanted to play them, they wanted to play, but it just didn't work out that way. And I didn't have a whole lot of rules, right? That first year, we didn't have a whole lot, but the ones we had, just, you're not going to, it was behavior, play the game like or whatever. And no throwing equipment, the only thing you throw around here is baseballs, right? Right. No, and any kind of infraction, you're automatically suspended the next game, no matter what the next game is. And so the last game in the Doc Norman, I don't know who we were playing or anything, and two of my studs, JC and Shane, it wasn't flagging or anything. One of them kind of spun a helmet a little bit, kind of threw it, and the other one kind of threw his cap, his glove or something. I seen it. And it wasn't real flagging or anything, but you're on the edge, you got to put your foot down. And so they were suspended the next game. That was the last game of the Doc Norman. Our next game was the conference game against Glendive. Doubleheader. Right? So they were both benched. My ace and my leader were benched. And that was one of our 7 losses that year. So it kind of, whatever. And so then, oh my God. So we're coming home from like Malta or somewhere late at night, one night. Most people are sleeping and whatnot. And Sunday comes up, he says, Coach, got any ice? I'm driving the bus. I said, yeah, there's some ice and cooling there. I said, what do you need ice for? Oh, I got gum in my hair. I said, well, how'd you get gum in your hair? Oh, I was just sleeping, it fell out of my mouth, and I rolled over it and whatever. I said, oh, okay. So we get home, and everybody's getting off the bus, and I said, Jane, wait a minute, I want to talk to you. And I said, what happened back there? I'll fucking tell you what happened, Coach. He said, Dirk was sleeping, and they had kind of long hair. We didn't have any rules at the time. Dirk was sleeping, and TC went around and gave everybody bubble gum. And then after they chewed it up, he went around and collected. And then he stuck it in Dirk's hair. I said, are you sure? He said, no, that's what happened, Coach. And then he left. I'm like, oh, my God. right? And I don't sleep at all that night. We're going to Scobie, I think maybe the next day, or going to Scobie to play. And we're hitting our yard, and I'm livid, right? I'm livid. And we hit in our yard, and then we meet in the dugout, and we're talking about whatever. And I made eye contact with DC. We just had a come to Jesus meeting, just something fierce, I was like, we're trying to win the state title here. And I got a second baseman sticking bubblegum in my shortstop's hair. I was like, it was crazy. I was just like, it was insane. So it went on for a while. I treated him really hard, and then we get on the bus and we go to Scobie. And I'm watching him out the window, and he's doing some soul searching, and he's really hard, because automatically, right, he's suspended, and he was due to pitch that night. Mm-hmm. And I said, he took it, I went back and talked to him. And I said, you know what? I said, the way you've taken this, I said, you're not going to miss your start. I said, you're going to throw it. I said, I see what you're going through. So he did, and we lose. It's another one of our losses, which was probably a good thing. And then from that point on, he turned his life around. I don't know. We climbed on his back and we went for a ride. Mm-hmm. He just a leader of, he was best friends with my shortstop, and I mean, he was incredible. Mm-hmm. He was in dingers that he just took over. It was amazing. And, kind of, I don't want to take anything away from anybody else. And then one play at the state tournament, he did this. I'd like to say I coached it, but I didn't. He got in the habit of second base when somebody hit a double or somebody on second. He'd get it in from the outfield, and he'd put in his glove, and he'd walk past that guy standing on second. Every time. Mm-hmm. Every time. And we're in an undefeated game in Lewistown, or in Billings against Lewistown, and he got up. The guy hit a stand-up double. The guy was pretty proud. Standing on second base. Cody got the ball in from Shane and right, I think. Was walking by. The crowd's going nuts. Lewistown's excited to get a rally. He went to change his feet on the bag, and Troy slapped it on him, and that ump rung him up. And we didn't look back after that. But I mean, and Kirk Cody was a closer, three-hitter, second baseman. He led us. Mm-hmm. Sure, I'm probably forgetting a few things, but and then we were playing Anaconda, and it was just a tight game, 1-1 or something. And we had to play 70 games, right? Because of the Mustangs or whatever. Yeah. Anyway, it was a pitcher's duel. Shane Peterson was throwing, and it was, I can't remember the guy's name from Anaconda, but we just ended up, we couldn't hit him. We just started bumping. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I throw one in the right, throw one in the left, and we won it. And then a week or two later, we were in the same kind of deal. I got the same pitcher throwing, same game. This was with Roseburg, Oregon. Mm-hmm. What was that pitcher's name? And same deal. And I'm like, I remember that. Let's just start butting again, and the same damn thing happened. But and then I think you mentioned that, when we won it in Billings, we won the sportsmanship trophy too. I was excited. It was one night during the season, I just woke up, I was sleeping with the yellow pad. I just thought about that. I didn't know if they had a sportsmanship deal. Yeah. So I brought it up to the kids the next day. I said, how about, right? Our goal is to win the title here. Yeah. I said, what if they give us sportsmanship? What if we had that in our other hand? Yeah, cool, coach. I was pretty excited about that, and we did get that in 87, 88, and 89. Wow, 3 years in a row. Yeah. That's incredible. Yeah. And then in 88, well, I don't know if you want to talk about regionals. Well, yeah, I kind of do. Of course. So we go. It was in Idaho Falls. Mm-hmm. It wasn't a very well-run tournament. And we get down there, and we're at the meeting, and there's a gal running the tournament. And she goes over, she's in the rules, and she says, all right, we're 7-inning games, we have 2 umpires per game, and 10-run rules in effect after 5. But if you 10-run somebody, your pitcher will get charged for 7 innings. And I stood up. I said, wait a minute. I says, we're from Montana. I said, our district tournament was in Scobie, Montana. We played 9-inning games, which I thought that was the game of baseball. And I says, we had 4 umpires per game. I can't remember what else there was, but and I said, now you tell me if I motivate my team and they do well and they do what they're supposed to do, you're going to punish our pitcher? And then Jim Moreau stood up, and we ended up bringing that to a vote and voted it out. But it was really not a very well-ran tournament.
Mm-hmm. Doesn't sound like it.
And then playing Kirkland, Washington, that was quite a battle. They had Mark Swain, their cleanup hitter. He took about 10 minutes each at bat. Every pitch. He'd fix his batting gloves, and tie his shoes, and take his helmet off, and fix his hair. And it was clutch. And Cody would come in. He was my closer, and he had a bases juice, and he had Swain struck out twice because my catcher Parson, I'd have him look at me, just look at me. Yeah, yes, it was there. Twice he had it, and Cody likes to work fast, right? And Swain was taking all his time, and Troy's just boiling out there, right? And then he walks him, and Swain clapped in his face and said something to him all the way to first base. Now Cody's hot. The next guy follows out behind first base to Colstead. And I'm watching, make sure John makes the catch. Well, Swain's on first. Do you know where Cody's heading? We went over there and gave him a good kidney punch, and oh shit, bench is cleared.
Oh.
They brought baseball bats, but I wouldn't let my boys go. I was.
Wow.
And then we shook hands. It was almost another ruckus. It was a hard loss.
Oh, geez, I did not know that. Right. Wow. Well, you had a bunch of competitors there, and
Joe, I'd walk too far for those boys today. I tell you what, they might have took years off my life, but they were competitors.
Yeah. What an incredible story that you coached him in Babe Ruth, and that down the line there disciplining him, and then they called you back to coach him, and then you win the state tournament. That's absolutely an incredible story, Mike.
Thanks, Joe.
Yeah.
I'm still in touch with quite a few of those boys.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That's amazing. Amazing story. And to win the sportsmanship trophy as a state champion, that's pretty rare to do.
I told him I didn't know if it had ever been done before. It probably can't.
Not for a state champion. Normally you give the sportsmanship trophy to someone who's really nice but lost.
Right.
But this must have been a special team, and you coach him. What a great story, Mike. I'm so glad that you got to tell it, too, and I got to hear it.
Me too. Some of it wasn't all baseball, but...
No, that's the funnest part, the stories. Yeah.
Well, we were just talking a little bit about 88.
Yeah.
I lost Gilman and Cody and Peterson.
Mm-hmm.
And 3 leaders. I mean, Shane led by example. He didn't say much, but people feared him.
Mm-hmm.
And Cody, he did what he did. Brett was a pretty good hitter. Pitched a bit and played third. But so it was a little different. And I was thinking we're going to repeat, right? And,
yeah.
And those kids turn 18 years old, and it's probably everywhere, and it might even be a little more so on the rest. They were hard to handle.
Mm-hmm.
They turned 18, got out of high school.
Mm-hmm.
It was tough. They didn't know. Oh shit! I don't know if I should do. So, those guys had girlfriends in every downtown. Right? They just did. They were, yeah. And we're coming home one night. It was late. And Sonny, I want to say, Sonny, you come. I'll talk about my shortstop, third base. Sonny gets up and he's ready to get off the bus right away. He's got all the shit packed. He's ready to go. I said, oh, what's your hurry, Sonny? He says, oh, he had her baby. I said, oh. He says, yeah, I'm going to go look at it and see if it's Kenny's or mine. Sure enough, next day of practice, that's Kenny's kid. And then, here's a classic in '88 too. Oh my God! So we're going divisionals in Sydney, right? And,
yeah.
I'm not staying because I know these kids. I know Sydney and these kids. We're not staying. We're driving. Right?
Mm-hmm.
So
right.
We take 201. We take the bus and go down 201. Anyway, we play Scobie the first night. I'm throwing my number 5 rookie, and Scobie beats us 13-12.
Mm-hmm.
And we ended up having the flu. Everybody went through. Well, our catcher didn't even come that first night. He had the flu. But everybody played this, so we lose our first round.
Yeah.
First game. And you know how it is in July in Sydney, Eastern Montana. It is hotter than hell. And we're puckering up, and we're going to have to come through the back door. Everybody's throwing about every inning possible.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And we just waltz on through because we're pissed now. Right?
Yep.
Screwed this one away. And we just waltz on through and get to Saturday. I told my brother, I said, shit, we're wore out. I said, go get us a motel and get us some food. I said, we're just going to stay. We're just going to beat Sydney twice tomorrow in the championship. We're just going to stay.
Mm-hmm.
So we were, quick to stay. But we got a motel. And my brother got us a motel and got us some food. And we get to the motel. And shortstop comes around. He said, hey, coach, can you go out for a little bit, for an hour?
Mm-hmm.
I said, no. He said, come on, coach, just for an hour. I said, no, Dirk. I said, guys, we've been sick all week. I says, we got 2 tomorrow. I says, no. And he opens my window. He says, coach, we'll just be right out there in that park. You can just look out your window and we'll just be right out there. God damn it. I said, I don't want no trouble. No trouble. He said, oh, there won't be no trouble, coach. I said, all right, you got 1 hour. He said, thanks, coach. And he's gone, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, about 20 minutes later, there's some loud noise going on, banging on some doors on our motel. And I open up my door, and there's this monster out there. And he's got a birthmark on the whole side of his face, and he is freaking pissed. He wants somebody's ass. And I was calling him sir. I said, sir, listen, I'll take care of this, but I'm going to have to ask you to leave. I said, she's going to leave. So he goes downstairs, wherever he goes. I go straight down the dirt, knock on the door. I said, it's coach. No, I could hear them say, hey, it's coach, let him in. They had the door chained and everything, right? They open up the door, they slam the door, they chain it up again. I said, Dirk's laying in bed, like he's innocent or something. Mm-hmm. I walked straight over to him and I said, what happened? He says, nothing happened. I said, don't freaking tell me nothing happened, Dirk. I says, there's a monster out there. He wants somebody's ass, and I want to know what happened. Well, we were just on that park, like I told you, coach, and these guys drove by, and somebody might have said something. And they got out. They wanted to fight. And Austin Barr was there, and he said, I don't want to fight you. He said, maybe that guy back there, you want to picnic him? He might. That's our little first baseman, John Close, he's black belt, right? Mm-hmm. So this monster comes back there and he wants to fight John, and John's backing up. He says, I don't want to fight you. This guy took another step. And John says, if you don't get out of my space, I'll kick you. This guy took another step, and John kicked him in the head and knocked him out. Like he said, nothing happened, coach. I said, oh, Jesus. I said, okay, nothing happened. Okay, so I'm up all night, right? Those guys ended up pulling the plug wires out of our bus and shit. I don't sleep at all night because I'm watching to find out what's going to happen here. We go to the field the next day, and Brian Rogers, I said, hey, we had some trouble last night. he said, with who? And I put my hand up my face. I said, this guy with the, oh, shit, coach. He says, that's the worst we got. I was like, sure enough. I said, sounds good. And anyway, we ended up beating Sydney twice. And we had to wait around to get trophies or whatever. And I said, get on the bus, man. We got on the bus and got the hell out of there.
Like Gut Bank.
Oh, yeah, kind of. Rest, boys. You know?
Oh, man.
State tournaments in Great Falls and catcher, right? So our last practice, I didn't want anybody getting hurt or anything, so I brought in some plywood. We didn't have a Gillespie or nothing, right? I built a little half-assed Gillespie, and we were just shagging balls. I'm throwing BP, and Parsley's walking, kind of jogging over to shag a ball and blows his knee. Our catcher blows his knee before we leave the state.
Oh, Dave Parsley.
The Great Falls, I think we were probably out three, which I don't know. It's just a whole different deal. Even though we lost those three guys, they were pretty influential. 3 guys, yeah, 3 guys, and then your catcher too. Yeah, the catcher too. Yeah.
So Dave Parsley. Yeah, that's 4 guys then really at state.
Yeah. Right.
But repeating as Eastern Division champions like you did after losing the first game to Scobie, yeah, that's it's tough to lose, your leaders and your best players and come back from that. That's why you don't see a lot of teams repeat as state champions. It was pretty rare when we did that in Scobie.
Oh yeah.
And
I don't know if anybody's ever going to do what you guys did.
Probably not.
That's not going to happen.
Yeah. not 5 in a row. Maybe not 5 in a row.
No, maybe 2.
Yeah. But it's hard to do. And then how long did you keep coaching? So that was in '88. How long did you keep coaching Legion at Wolf Point?
I think 91. It was 90 or 91, I think. And then I just needed to I needed to do something with my life besides farm and coach.
Yep.
Then I moved to Bozeman and coached some senior league, and then we started a Legion program in Belgrade. I coached that for 5 years, and then I had a couple girls, so I ended up coaching girls softball.
Fast pitch.
10 years,
Yeah, I had 2 girls too, Mike, so I was fast pitch coach too.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
That's a good game.
It is. A lot more strategy, a lot more bunting, that type of thing. At least the way that we coached it over there where I was.
Yeah.
A lot of small ball bunting, moving, because pitching really dominates that sport more than baseball.
Right.
Yeah, and so you gotta get a runner on, you gotta move them up and get them home, right? Kind of like it used to be in baseball.
Well, what I found with fast pitch too is like in baseball, don't throw the ball around, right?
Yeah.
Well,
out.
Fast pitch, you got somebody backing up everything.
Yep.
I mean, you don't get crazy throwing the ball around. But you throw it with, if it's overthrown, you might get the out at second anyway because your player's there, right?
Right.
So defense was fun in that game too. Good game.
Yeah, absolutely. I loved coaching it. Yeah. So what a career you've had, Mike. Are you still involved in the sport at all? Softball or baseball in any way?
No. I can probably fill you in a little bit about fast pitch. I don't know if you know anything about it.
I do know a little bit, but go ahead, Mike.
I mean, about my career in fast pitch?
Yeah, I mean, I know a little bit. I'd like you to tell it.
Well, yeah, I coached, all the way up. I had 2 girls. They were like a year apart, so I coached whichever one. Sometimes it was both of them. Sometimes coach travel and league. And then I was going to apply for the head coach when my girls were done because I never really believed in that, head coaching high school ball. But I got so fed up that my youngest was going to be a senior, and I went into the AD, and I just went into him with a list of stuff that was wrong, right? And I just told him, I didn't say anything. He says, well, would you apply if I opened up the job? And I said, yeah, I would. So we did, and then granted, a lot of these girls were with me for years, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we won the state title. There were 30 years after 87, 2017. That my first year. We won it. I think we were. I don't know, and then we went back to back, and we won it again the next year, and then they fired me.
They fired you after winning two state championships?
It was 2 for 2. We were 48-3.
What?
Our only losses came to AA schools. We were Class A at the time.
Uh-huh.
But it was a long process. It was pretty ugly, but I haven't coached since. I don't plan on it.
Winning two state championships, and they fired you.
Yeah. And I really couldn't tell you, they said what it is. Bullying, and I don't know what else they had. But they had the support of the whole community, everything, but it didn't matter. Yeah. School board chairman's daughter wasn't playing short, and she wasn't batting cleanup. Well, she wasn't good enough, so. It was ugly, so.
Oh, man. Well, congratulations on state championships 30 years after your Legion championship in 87. Yeah.
But there's some great girls, too. Just,
Wow, that's an amazing story. That takes us all the way through your career then. So you had career Legion, state Legion championship in 87, you runners up as a player in 76, and banking in 2 state championships for Belgrade High School. Yeah, in 2017 and 18. Wow.
Yeah.
That's incredible, Mike. Don't have much more time here, but the best part of this interview, Mike, has been the stories that you've told. You have the best stories of anybody I've interviewed.
It's breast ball, buddy. When I thought about it, whatever.
Yeah.
Tell the truth. Can you use
the
nicknames?
The stories are the story. The stories are what they are. You know? And it was different.
Like I say, even I take a bullet for that 87 team. Those guys were incredible.
That's just an amazing story. Absolutely. You coming up from Florida to coach them. So one question I always ask at the end of the interview, Mike, is what's your favorite professional baseball team, Major League Baseball team? Do you have one?
Not into it too much anymore, but I grew up kind of being a Yankee fan, even though I did not like George Steinbrenner, but I liked Billy Martin.
Yeah, so his style is fiery Billy Martin, yeah.
Yeah. I might have liked him a little too much. Mike got me in some trouble.
Following his style. Yeah, I saw him manage in Kansas City when he was managing the Yankees in 1976.
Did you?
Yeah, he was. Yeah, and there was the game. It was 8-2, and the Yankees had the bases loaded. The Yankees were behind 8-2 in the ninth, and they had the bases loaded. There were 2 outs, and somebody hit a ground ball to shortstop, and they threw to second for the 4th out, and it ended the game, right? And Martin was out of the dugout, on that second baseman's in his face, absolutely maniacal, telling him, yelling. I mean, I read about it in the paper what he was saying. You just want to fucking go home because this game's over, and you just want it to be over. It was just everybody was leaving, and Dad and John and I were watching him on second base in this umpire's face. That was Billy Martin.
Just pissed off because he lost.
Yeah, just pissed off because he lost, but he thought that umpire just wanted to go home and for the game to be over.
Jesus.
Yeah.
Joe, when I was in Florida, I played softball. My umpire still pissed softball, and I played on an umpire's team, right? So, I'm going to tell you this. I don't have much time. Anyway, I got to know this guy a little bit, and he was a high school teacher and coach, baseball coach. I'll make this quick. And so one spring before I come back to coach, because when I coached here, I'd go back to Florida for the winter. Before I come back, I read in the paper, Steinbrenner gives Carlton a chance. And I only lived about a mile from their spring training deal. That was their rookie spring training. They were still in Lauderdale. But anyway, so I go over there and I see Carlton. I'm watching them on and I'm walking around looking at equipment and stuff. And I asked this big black security guard about something. He says, "Oh, I don't know." He says, "But that guy there coming there," he says, "He'll know. He runs the place. He'll know." And I'm looking at him, and I says, "This guy I played ball with was a high school coach, was Les Parker." And I says, "Is his name Les?" Mm-hmm. He goes, "Yeah." "Les Parker?" He says, "Yeah." And anyway, he comes up, and I says, "Les, what are you doing here?" He says, "What are you doing here?" Anyway, he said, I said, "No, the question is, what are you doing?" He says, "Well, one of the kids I coached ended up being my assistant coach, and we're good friends and whatever. And anyway, he's getting married, and he's marrying Steinbrenner's daughter, and I'm the best man at the wedding. And we go to the wedding and whatnot. And then a little bit later, he calls me up and he says, "You ready to go to work?" And I said, "No, school doesn't start for another month." He says, "I'm not talking school." He says, "I'm talking to the New York Yankees." I goes, "Well, what'd you have in mind?" "Well, we'll start you out scouting, this and that, or whatever." And anyway, so they work out the details. He resigns from high school. He's going to be a Yankee scout. And then he gets another call a few weeks later, and it was a death or something that happened. And that guy says, "Hey," he says, "forget about that scouting." He says, "How'd you like to run Yankees farm system?"
Wow.
And he says, "Oh, yeah, that's what I'm here. I'm here." He says, "There's three things I always wanted in life. One was to live in Tampa, Florida. One was to be in professional baseball." And he says, "And I've been a Yankee fan all my life."
Wow.
So anyway, and then he says, "Don't tell anybody." He says, "But the big boys will be here. They're moving from Lauderdale to here within a couple of years." And sure enough, they did. They moved to Tampa. Mm-hmm. Yeah, incredible. I don't know how I got off on that story.
No, that's awesome. No, because I asked you about professional baseball. That's incredible. And your team's the Yankees. Wow. That's amazing, Mike.
Oh, I know how I got in it. We're talking about Billy. And I asked Les, I says, "You know, big boys are going to be here today?" He says, "Well, there's Bucky right over there." And I'm like, "Oh, shit, really? Yeah, oh." I said, "What about Billy?" He said, "I don't know." And I'm sitting in one of these bleachers, and a little bit later, I looked to my left, and holy shit, Billy Martin and Hoyt Wilhelm are sitting there about 20 feet away from me.
Oh, man.
I'm like, oh, my God. I started shaking, dude, because I always wanted to be there. And I started shaking, and I didn't get the nerve to go over there. Mm-hmm. And then he left. And I asked Les where he went. He said, "I don't know. He might have went to St. Pete. I go grab a girl. We head to St. Pete. We can't find him." And that winter, he died.
Oh, wow.
But, yeah. Do you ever hear the story about Mickey and Billy when one of their rookie seasons when they were hunting?
No, I don't think so.
I know it's late, but
no, Mike, it's good.
You okay?
Yeah, good, Mike.
Okay, so they were playing in Arlington. I can't remember who came in first, Billy or Mickey. It was their 1 and 2 years. It was their first years, mm-hmm. And they were playing in Arlington, and Mickey knew a guy down there. About a 6-hour drive, they could hunt deer. Mm-hmm. So they had a day off. So Mickey gets Billy, and they go down to he knew this farmer down there, and they're going to hunt. Go hunting down there. They get to the house, and Mickey says, "Just wait in the car, Billy." He says, "I'll go in and make sure it's okay." So he goes in, and the guy says, "Hi, Mickey, how you doing?" And Mickey says, "Hey, I was just checking in and make sure we're okay if we hunt on your land. You can hunt on my land anytime you want, Mickey, blah, blah, blah." Mm-hmm. Say their goodbyes, and Mickey's going out the door, and the farmer says, "Well, Mickey says, could you do me a favor before you go out?" And Mickey says, "Sure, what is it?" He says, "Well, I got this pet mule down in the corral." He says, "He's losing his teeth and he's going blind and shit." And he says, "Mick, I raised him from when he was born." He says, "I don't have the heart to shoot him." He says, "Would you shoot him for me?" Oh. Mick says, "Sure, I can do that." So he gets out in the car and he slams the fucking door, and that son of a bitch, that dirty rotten son of a bitch. And Billy's like, "What's the matter? We drive 6 hours down here, and he said I can't hunt on his land." He says, puts the car in drive. He drives down the car. He says, I'll show that son of a bitch. Puts it in park, gets out and shoots this mule. He looks over at Billy, and Billy's gun smoking. And Mickey says, what are you doing? He says, I got to deal with cows. So that was going to be my line to Billy. I was going to tell him we had a bunch of land in Montana. You know, him and Mick are welcome to come up and hunt. You know, give me my fucking cows. All right, buddy. I know it's late where you're at, dude. I appreciate it, Joe.
Oh, Mike's awesome. That was a finish with a flurry there for sure.
All right, buddy. You take care, man.
Mike, this has been really special. Thanks so much. Take care.
Thank you, Joe. Take care.
Bye-bye.